Hey,
Hello.
hey, how you doing?
Welcome back to another conversation with Dave and Hannah. I like the word conversation instead
Conversation.
of
I like that,
podcast. That's really good.
right? Because really, it is what it is. We're just
'Cause
sitting here hanging out in Florida. Um,
why don't we start? So we've got some conversations to have today. Why don't we start by telling everybody where we are and what's happening and what's going on in our lives?
sure. Um, my daughter has taken me hostage in Florida. Save me, help me.
I've moved back in with my parents. Why have I done this?
Because we're not going to be here a lot, I think, is the biggest issue.
I think that is the biggest thing about why I moved back in. No, 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 seriously. But that is true. We did move to Florida,
You moved to
and
Florida. I live in Canada. You're just going to see me here a lot.
he's reallocating his assets of time, whatever that
I am
means.
reallocating my time and I'm spending more time in Orlando than I have previously,
Yes,
but I am a resident of Canada.
I have moved.
Exactly. So, so since you've moved down here and you're kind of getting settled in down here, we've taken a break from doing our podcasts for a while, or conversations, or whatever we're going to end up calling these things.
Mhm.
But we do really enjoy the opportunity, one, to stir each other up and to kind of make each other think about some things, and hopefully to make you think about some things.
Yeah, Mom said to me this morning, we were having a different conversation around the kitchen table, and she looks at me and she goes, "You've made your father spin." And I was like, "I know, it's so much fun." We just laughed about it for a second as we saw Dad through the window sitting outside, just like, thinking about something
Yeah,
we
yeah.
had just talked about.
This look.
Oh, yeah, that one's, you're down for it when that comes across.
Yeah, that's a sign that I'm thinking. When my hands are on my head,
It's
there's something
actually
going
when
on
the
here.
when the if you know him, it's when the forehead starts to crinkle forward.
That's not even fair.
That's when you know that you're really stressing something. Is when you're like,
Don't
mm.
know what she's talking about. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about Gen Zers. We were at a conference earlier this week, and shout out to our friends from Fellowship at
FCCI
FCCC. How many C's were in it? Just two.
two FCCI.
FCCI, Fellowship of Christian Companies International. They had a conference in Jacksonville that got cut short by the. Um,
Hurricane.
that's the thing, the hurricane.
Hurricane Ian, yeah, that
Yeah,
ripped on through here. Luckily, we dealt with it just fine, and we are okay.
yeah.
But yeah, the conference was cut short, unfortunately.
Conference cut short. We fared very well. There was water in our streets and made our subdivision impassable, but only for a day or so, and we actually fared very well. So
Hmm.
thankful for that.
Very thankful.
But one of the things that we kind of came into contact with at the show was a lot of conversation about Gen Zers and this. So it just brought a conversation for you and I forward about.
The concepts of hiring Gen Zers and all that that entails. And so, as a Gen Z myself, I was thinking about it and the potential barriers to entry of the marketplace for us in terms of just the way that we like to present ourselves a little bit differently, perhaps. And
What
so,
are old dudes like me thinking when we meet Gen Zers, and what are we going to allow to be a roadblock to meeting good talent, or getting to know people and hearing their stories?
absolutely. So, for me, I am fairly basic in the way that I term to present myself at work. So I like blazers. I don't want to wear the Air Force Ones into the office typically. I'm not a running shoe gal. I like blonde hair, but I put some pink color in my hair this morning, and I definitely have some tattoos. And so I came out today, and I was just like, "What do you think it would look like if I walked into your office and you had never seen my face, and I had pink hair? Maybe I had some bigger piercings. Maybe my tattoos were in some more visible places." Like if they're up behind my ears, lots of people have those, or up into their necks and such. Like even not the more like, oh, that's a scary tattoo that like you can see up the side of someone's neck. Like that used to be a thing, but now it's very common to have one kind of peeking up in and behind. And
Sure.
so when you go into an interview with a new Gen Z, it's a new generation of people. And I think the question is, in my mind, how do you see those things?
Yeah.
What are some, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, or some things that you're like, I don't even see that or notice that as much anymore. And so that's kind of the preface of what we would like to chat about today.
Yeah, and I would say that that's actually a really good way to think about it is, like, honestly, the more you become accustomed to seeing these things in the workplace, the less we see them, right? The more normative they become, not because it's a standard, but because it's just more commonplace, the less off-putting it is.
Hmm.
What I would say is, facial tattoos, typically a problem. But honestly, I saw a guy doing a comedy routine on, you know, probably Insta Reels recently. Don't laugh at me about that. That's not kind. Um, and and it looked cool. Like I don't know how he pulled it off or what the deal was, but I was kind of like, hey, is that a yeah, that's a facial tattoo. Wow, it doesn't look bad there. I kind of, weirded out by it.
Was very intrigued by it. That's so interesting. I don't know that I'd heard that before.
Yeah, no, and it's you'd be shocked. I don't send you all of the Insta reels that I watch.
I don't
Uh,
watch all the Insta reels that you send, so
that works out okay. But yeah, I think that as you're dealing with um, a new generation of people, you have to one mentor them and two accept. But before you get a chance to mentor them, you got to accept them. You got to accept them for who they are, and so there's a balance to that whole thing. And I try to meet people where they're at. I really do. But sometimes there's a roadblock. So, like, I would say, when I get a server in a restaurant and they've got a big old marble uh, in their mouth because they've got some form of um,
piercing,
piercing,
tongue
thank you,
piercing.
some kind of tongue piercing where it's interrupting their language, it's actually hard for them to speak around. That kind of frustrates me. Like,
And
almost makes me angry.
okay, well,
Low key
I
angry.
mean, I mean that making you angry, that's a deal for you to solve yourself. But
Oh,
I would say
shots fired.
I would say that that's fair as an employer to be like, okay, well, I'm trying to hire you for a receptionist job or a telemarketing job. And if you've got this big piece of metal hanging out your mouth and I can't understand you because of it, perhaps that's merit for concern.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is my server has a marble in their mouth, and they're trying to ask me, "Would you like more water?" And if you say, "Would you like more water?" like this, "Would you like more water?" It's hard to know what the person's saying, and that's a roadblock to employment.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I can hear that. So okay, so mouth piercings,
Yeah,
facial.
fa- facial tats are going to be an issue. Like, you just have to think about your scene and where you're going to be,
Well,
and
there's that song, right? I pierced my face so I could never get a job again, so that I pushed myself harder to work whatever. I should know that song as a Gen Zer, but I don't, or nor do I know who it's by. It's a rapper of some sort.
I've never heard that song. I didn't know there was one. It doesn't shock me. Um, yeah, I think.
I think that's a Drake song. I don't know.
Oh, wouldn't
I
that be a great
really
Canadian?
should know
Uh,
that. I really
okay,
should know
well,
that.
maybe in the show notes you can write down who that's by. You can figure that out.
Maybe
Copy the lyrics in.
911. I missed my youthhood. Who's that by?
So, I think that, um, yeah, I think that there's all sorts of appropriateness to individuality. Um, but I think that when you take your individuality to the point where um, you deter from the work that you're trying to do, that's where it gets to be a problem.
Okay, so that's, I mean, completely fair. That's very similar to if you're a nurse, you can't have long nails. Like it just comes along with the don't let it obstruct your actual career. What about, let's talk about like uniqueness. Like if I had bright, bright pink hair,
Okay,
or a full sleeve all the way down my arm, or
I'm a fan of the full sleeve. And I'm actually a fan of really pink hair. I was at a friend's anniversary party this summer, and I saw one of your childhood friends, and she was telling me how she was sporting this shocking pink hair in her science lab coat
I
in a nuclear facility,
I
and I
love
was
it.
like, I'm down with that. Like that is so cool.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 most impressive friend I have, Mackenzie Tigwell. Shout out.
Shout out to Mackenzie. I
Just
wasn't
won a
gonna name you, but
nuclear award of
yeah.
some sort.
Well,
But
the reality is Mackenzie is shockingly unique.
she
And
is.
that she wore pink hair is not didn't shock me or surprise me at all, and I thought that was cool.
No, but the thing that I love about people like that is that it makes them stand out. Like, when are you gonna go to a conference and see someone that rocked some pink or purple or blue or whatever you want to be, hair, and think highly of them based on what they're doing and then forget them?
Right,
Like, that doesn't happen.
right, yeah. If you're looking to make a mark, you like, and that's where some of that uniqueness does come in, and you actually do this very well and in a very professional way. You make a lasting impression on people. I've just always found that to be true of you.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
but I think that that's what people should be looking to do is let um, and if shocking pink hair helps that and augments your ability to leave an impression, then great. But if it hinders, then drop the routine and find something new. And that's the challenge with the sleeve, is you got so much time and money wrapped up into it.
Oh yeah,
If it's a detractor, you're messed.
you can't do that. Yeah. Well, I think if it's a detractor and you already have it, it's a career change
Yeah,
decision, not an arm change
yeah.
decision. So
Too late. Too late. Too late.
but I think that is really what it comes down to at the end of the day. As long as the decisions that you're making are not hindering your performance, but rather making you stand out, then bring it on.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that's fair. And all of these things vary based on your work environment. So if you're a banker, it's going to be different. When you work in an agency, at an employment agency, um, you're going to have more flexibility. If you work at an agency that is only working with high finance positions, you're going to have less flexibility. We work with general laborers and truck drivers, and um, honestly, a number of people that are very unique in their own right. And so it's not going to be surprising to them to run into somebody inside our organization that represents the uniqueness that they represent outside of our organization. And I think that that's healthy.
I really like how you said that. I have quite literally nothing else to add.
Well, and on that, we will call this to a close because that doesn't happen very often, folks.
That does not.
When we
Oh
can make
man.
her shut up, it's time to close off the show. Thank you
Okay.
so much for hanging out with us. Hope you're having
Thanks
a
for
great
tuning
day.
in. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.